This is the Page Publishing Book Club. Turn it up, Rob. Come on, man. This is what gets me going every Saturday night at midnight. Oh, yeah. I'm your host, Alice Stockton Rossini. Rob Barrett is my engineer. You can't see him, you can't hear him, but he's there. Right, Rob? Yes, he is, shaking his head. Have we got a fun show for you tonight? I'm talking fun. So fun. Interesting. Sometimes very serious. There are so many things you can write about first-time authors. Check out some of them right here, right now. We begin with David Solnitz. His first book of fiction is called Ilsa's Fate, and it's a book that wouldn't have been possible without documentation from his parents about their experience at Dachau during World War II. I told you we're going to get serious. This is about a woman, right, who grew up in Germany. She was a violinist, loved nature, and after her family lost everything during World War I, she fell in love with a Nazi officer. Now, take it from there, David.
He became a high officer in Dachau and eventually at Auschwitz. And she had become a school teacher following very strictly the Nazi regime. But always, because of her early experiences in life, felt considerable conflict. And as a result of this experience, and particularly when she was at Auschwitz and being a very good violinist herself as part of the orchestra there, she then met the wife of her violin teacher, and a strange kind of friendship based very much on love but also fear evolved. And basically the story ends very tragically, because when she tries to escape with others in 1945, before the camp was taken over by the Russians, she eventually was captured and died in prison, a very painful death. But the whole story basically deals with my parents' experiences growing up in Germany as Jews, and many of the characters actually people whom either my father, who was incarcerated in Dachau, or others whom my family knew, making it possible for me to write a story that we all are endowed with seeds for good and evil behaviors, and sometimes conditions, including lack of self-confidence or insecurity, bring about bad behaviors. And in some instances, these horrendous conditions evoke good and courageous action, which we have seen to some extent with Ilsa and with others throughout the story.
Your parents must have shared a lot of information with you.
The British government asked my father to write a report of his experience at Dachau. That I translated from the German. So it is a very clear picture of his own experience at the concentration camp. So that provided a lot of evidence. Also, I have been back to Germany. I have done research there. I've learned a lot about some of their friends killed in the concentration camp at Auschwitz. The only witness to my parents' wedding in 1936. Yes, and there was research and evidence from my parents as well.
That's painstaking research, David. This is the kind of story we could spend the whole half hour on this story. Good luck with your book. And by the way, David is a founder of the Holocaust Human Rights Center in Maine, where he lives, and he will be sharing his book and the personal history of how this all came about right there where he lives. Omer Zamir is 24 years old. He's got a situation writers, I'm telling you can only dream of. He wrote a book of poems about some pretty intense experiences he's had, including some he's not proud of. You were picked up for shoplifting, right, Omer?
Yeah, because basically in the past, in the book itself also, it shows that I'm 4 years clean as far as I used to, cut, and that was that was 4 years ago, and I've been clean for 4 years, and it also in the book itself there are some poems about masochism, but there are also some. I don't want this to make this book sound very dark. There are also some humoristic poems there, poems influenced by On the Road by Jack Kerouac, and other poets that have influenced me. But the whole incident with the shoplifting, that was just not that I really, needed anything. That was just kind of for the high, for the thrill. And that lasted for only like a few weeks. And then when I was caught, and my experience in jail, which lasted just for about 5 hours, but it was quite profound for me. And I mean, it was hard, but I wrote like 3 to 4 poems there, and which are included in the book. And yeah, so I learned from the experience. As James Joyce says, mistakes are the portals to discovery. And
so you were young. You were about 19 or 20 years old when you were cutting yourself.
Yes, I've been clean for 4 years, so that's accurate.
Did you have to go through a process to get through that? Like figure out why you were doing that?
Again, it was very intense, and for a short amount of time. It was just for a month or something. And then it stopped because I just knew that this was a self-destructive pattern. And that was around the time I discovered poetry, and I just began putting my pain into words. I began going to the pen, not the knife, to the page, not the skin. I began to pour out my rage, not turn into ash within. I'm paraphrasing a poem of mine, which is from another book, which I have yet to publish. But I used that self-destructiveness in a constructive way. Everybody has their outlet. Mine is poetry. So poetry has helped me overcome many obstacles.
Do you go to school? What do you do now?
I'm living in Hollowell, Maine. I'm self-taught. I study literature, and I go out, give readings in libraries or, other venues. And that's basically how I lead my life. How
do you make money?
Well, I have really, really generous sponsors who are willing to sponsor me, and so I don't have to worry about that as far as, income.
Who are your sponsors? What do you mean, family members or?
They prefer to stay anonymous.
So you write poetry, and you go out and you read poetry, and you write stories, and you read it, and you share your works with others, and you can do that freely because you have people basically supporting you.
Precisely.
Are they supporting you because you're a creative genius, or just to be kind?
Oh, no. They really support my poetry as far as they really believe in it. And that's the reason, the poetry, and basically, wanting to see me excel in that. It's also, and also I study full time, literature. I am a bookworm.
Nice, Omer. Well, Awake is his third book, but his first through Page Publishing. He's got several more on the way, and lucky for him, right? He can just sit there and write and not have to worry about paying bills. Just like us, Rob, right? It's all for the love. We get the love. That's all we need. Next up, Russell Andreessen. What a character. He was a futures trader, and because he wrote about his Wall Street days in his book called A Crude World, he's had some pretty crude fallout.
I've been banned from 2 different New York Mercantile Exchange pages on Facebook.
What?
They've actually posted that any mention of the name Russell Andreessen or A Crude World will get you banned.
What? Why?
Because they're afraid of the truth.
What's the truth?
The truth is what's in the book.
What's in the book?
Some of the trading practices of the brokers, the sexual harassment, the drug abuse, racial discrimination, ways in which the market was able to be manipulated and how easily it was to manipulate it.
The Wolf of Wall Street is alive and well.
We were commodities brokers. We were not Wall Street. The wolves never went anywhere. The wolves are the reason why the exchange is now even easier to steal money, which is another reason why they are so afraid of the book. We were sold out from inside. People who were voted on to become chairman of the exchange and leaders of the exchange sold the exchange to another company, which in turn precipitated the transfer from the open outcry to a fully electronic mode of trading. There's no longer the human element of open outcry to tell the customers where the market's moving, what the funds may be working, what orders are being processed. All the computer knows is who came first and what is the bid and what is the offer. There is nothing to regulate anything. That was all removed.
Obviously, you're not doing it anymore, right? What happened?
What happened to me was 9/11. I saw the writing on the wall also. After 9/11, it seemed It was going to be coming soon, this change over to electronic trading. And to be perfectly honest with you, around 2004, I had a mild nervous breakdown, and I just said, you know what? This is not the life that I want to live anymore.
But why are you writing this book now?
I'm writing the book now because I still love the exchange, but those days are gone. I know what everyone did on the floor because I was doing it with them. Not only did I do drugs, which anyone who says that the majority of the people on the floor did not do drugs, they're lying. I sold drugs on the side to help me get through the day because this was an environment where alcoholism was not only accepted, it was expected. And they don't want people knowing this.
What's the single thing that you're being harassed for? Just boil it down for me. Because you're exposing secrets that have never been exposed before?
The fact that someone from the exchange had the temerity to write a book, an honest book, about the exchange. Because every other book that had ever been written about the exchange, nobody lives like that. I actually had someone say to me, you broke the promise. We were a family. That's where their biggest anger with me is.
All right. So your point, the point of writing this book,
was that I wanted it to be told from someone who was actually there.
I mean, the fact that people are so angry at you, I would think would be a great selling point, you know?
It is a great seller, and I'd be lying if I said that it wasn't. Any publicity is good publicity, and they're unwittingly selling books for me.
All right, I want to tell you something. This guy went on for a half an hour. You got such a small segment of what this guy had to say, and he swears his story is different from every other Wall Street movie storybook you have ever heard or read. And you know what? I'll let the readers be the judge of that. Peter Puccio is a CPA, and while he was working, he saw some things going on that he felt he just had to share, like a group of people who got together and formed some companies to defraud people. Sounds like a takeoff on the 2008 mortgage crisis.
Yeah, that's pretty much exactly what it is. My background is in banking, and I was a CPA. And so over the years, I saw some funny business going on here and there, and I thought it would be a good foundation for an interesting story, given that, it's happened to so many people now that, a lot of people can relate to it. It's in the news all the time. It's probably going to be back in the news again. So it's the foundation of the story, and it's how things develop. But it's an interesting story, I think, how people can come together and hurt others, So.
Yeah, and somehow manage to convince themselves it's okay.
Yeah, these folks, the four people who come together, the characters, each have their own motivation. They've had their ups and they've had their downs, and they figure the only way, their last shot at achieving their goals, whether it's riches or fame, is to come together and perpetuate this fraud on this innocent people.
And convince people to buy property they can't afford.
Yes, exactly. And so they structure several different companies to make it look legal, to involve the government, to involve some banks. So when you involve banks, the FBI gets involved. And the thrust of the story is that one of the victims of the fraud is a friend of a wealthy attorney. And he's so wealthy he doesn't practice. His basic outlook in life is how to correct wrongs. And so he's developed this little group of associates, and they try to help out the little guy whenever they can. So he's out to get justice. He seeks the help of a banker friend that he knows. The FBI seeks help from a private real estate investor they know, but the FBI doesn't know that the investor is married to the banker. So that's kind of how some of the characters interact. A woman, she's very strong. She's an attorney in her own right, but she's had a tortured past created by one of the city's largest real estate investors. So the tensions build, the characters interact, and all the while, she's trying to get past her demons and see what she can do to remedy the situation with the former investor. So there's a couple of moral issues, there's a couple of twists, there's a little surprise. When I read, and I read a lot, I like a good surprise in a book.
And you were able to recall, I guess, some of these experiences in your book are based on real life experiences?
I kind of picked snippets here and there of some of the things that I'd seen over the years, how people tried to defraud either banks or other individuals, using the financial industry. And if someone wants to perpetuate a fraud, they will.
You said this story will probably come back again. What do you mean by that?
The financial crisis is still with us. I mean, the economy is still poor. Most of what took place happened in 2008. The book takes place in 2008, just as the financial crisis is getting going. And so one of the pushes from government is to have everyone own a home, which is a noble gesture, but not everyone should own a home. And the characters put together a scheme where people who have limited means, they don't have the defenses that people with greater means have, and they perpetuate a fraud just for their own personal gain.
And that's never going to end.
I don't think so. The push-pull of good and evil all the time.
Any advice for people that want to write? People are thinking about it, haven't been able to kind of get off the dime?
Sit down, put something down on paper, edit, but you got to have fun. If you're not having fun, do something else.
Couldn't agree with you more, right, Rob? If you don't like what you do, you might as well forget about it. You have to have a good time. Or what's the point? Why waste your time? Like right now, you're not wasting your time. Are you wasting your time? Of course not. You're listening to the Page Publishing Book Club. We got to take a quick break, but we're coming right back, right after these words.
Attention all authors. Page Publishing is looking for authors. Have you written a book and want to get it published? Page Publishing will get your book into bookstores and for sale online at Amazon, Apple, iTunes, and other outlets. They handle all aspects of the publishing process for you. Printing, cover art, publicity, copyright, and editing. Call 800-204-6099 now for your free author submission kit. That's 800-204-6099 for your free author submission kit.
Hey now. Thanks for coming back to the Page Publishing Book Club. We really appreciate it. But how could you not? How could you not come back? This is the place to be midnight on Saturday, especially if you want to be an author, especially if you want to write that first book. Kathleen Helly worked for a police department in Illinois, and she decided to write about what she knew. She says if you like detective mysteries and a good love story, you're going to love Cross Star Steel Edges. So give me the story, Kathleen.
All right. The girl is sent from her hospital room out to where the male subject is. He has since given up his position as a detective because of something that happened to him. It was something that he found to be a shameful act, and he ran away. He went to Hollywood, where the people that had set him up in the beginning set him up to be an actor. He was very good looking, and he didn't like it, but he accepted it because it let him be somebody he didn't have to face reality with. The girl was sent there under the supposition that she was going to protect him. The chief of police was the one that sent her. Chief of police was the person that set them both up. Anyway, they go through a whole long litany of things. They take a trip across the country to protect his mother, who works for the chief. Chief turned out to be his father in reality. And in the end, they did get married.
That's the whole book.
Well, basically, yeah, it goes into a lot of detail about different places they were and how they had to run and hide. And
this is your first book, right?
Yes.
And so you pulled from something you knew.
Yeah, I pulled from things that I knew. There's a lot of exaggeration and supposition. Basically, yes. I feel that you can write better what you know about. That came very easily to me.
How was the, actual experience of writing? I find a lot of people can't get past that first sitting down and just writing.
I hate to say this because it's probably wrong, but it comes very easily to me. I wanted to do it for a long time, and when I retired, I decided, all right, let's do this. I did the outline for that probably 30 years ago when my kids were little, and I had to stay home with them for a while. And once I retired, I dug it out, and I thought, all right, you're going to have to update this and bring it up to snuff, but let's do this, So I did. I hope that people can read it and enjoy it.
Are you going to keep writing?
Oh, I have about 8 or 9 more books that are ready to go.
You going to stick with Page?
Yes. Page was very good to me. I feel they did an excellent job. In fact, I told the woman that I worked with that I would like to work with her again. She was very good, Lindy. And any questions I had, she answered for me. And the book is very nice. I mean, it looks good. I will stick with them.
Well, thanks for that, Kathleen. Lindy appreciates that, and Paige appreciates it too. And you know what? She's another example of it's never, ever, ever too late to start writing. Gobi Mazo is our second poet for tonight, and her book is called Something for Everyone, and for good reason, right, Gobi?
It's because anyone who read it can find something in there that they can relate to, or something that's going to inspire them, or something that's just going to lift them up and say, you know what, okay, well, I'm not the only one who actually went through this. Maybe, she did also as well. And, she feel positive about it. So that's why I've named Something for Everyone.
So have you written these poems over a course of many years?
Yes, they have been a collection of some of what I've gone through and a lot of what others have gone through and have talked to me, confided in me, just wanted an ear. So I listened.
When did you decide to compile all these?
The thought came to me some years ago, but I was like, you know what, all the poem books that are out there, mine in the mix of many, how is it going to get read? But then last year I was inspired by family, friends, and church members that, why don't you just go ahead and get these things published, because I read one in church every Sunday. And they was like, you need to publish these things because they were so inspired by it, they felt other people would be too. So I did it.
So you're reading the poems in church?
Yes, every Sunday.
Was it difficult for you to begin the process of writing?
Actually, it wasn't difficult for me to write because growing up, I was never an expressive person. I was a shy, bashful young girl, and therefore I didn't talk to anyone. I kept my feelings locked up, and my only expression was on paper. So for me, writing just came naturally. Paper and the pencil became my best friend.
But, in terms of having these things and finally getting to the point where you could publish them, was that a process for you?
That was a process. I thank God for the Page Publishing. I saw their commercial on TV, and I liked what they said. And I don't jump on just anything because other publishers were out there too, but there was just something about them, and I got in touch with them, and they just catered to me instead of being worried about okay, you have to pay this much and pay that much. They put all that on the line, and let me know everything, and then they worked around that with me. So it was like small monthly payments until it was all paid up. And that was great. And then what I loved about Page Publishing is that they catered to me. They wanted to make sure that I was satisfied with this, I was comfortable with that, and this and that, So, yeah, actually, the process for me was very, very easy, smooth. They made it that way.
How many poems are in the book?
I think about 90-something poems in the book.
That's a lot of poems.
I know. I'm starting on my second book already. I'm almost through with it.
All right, go Gobi. I like that. Her pen and her paper are her friend. It's nice to know people still use pen and paper, Let's go out to Bozeman, Montana. We have time for one more, right, Rob? One more. Okay. Nathan Hauser's standing by to talk about his book, A Dog Named Sue. Isn't there a song? No, wait. That was a boy named Sue, right?
It was a boy named Sue.
Yeah, now we have a dog named Sue.
I'm a huge Johnny Cash fan.
Oh, there you go. That explains it.
Yeah. Two kids want to have a pet, and they end up wanting a dog. And when they get a dog, there's a little rivalry about who gets to play with the dog more often. And they don't know if it's a boy dog or a girl dog. So the boy wants it, and the little girl wants it. And I have a little boy and a little girl, and they do the same thing with our dog. Anyway, so that's the gist of the.
And the moral of the story is?
It doesn't matter if it's a boy or a girl; they can both play with it. In the very end, there's a lesson that they have to take care of the dog. Both of them have to take care of it, and they have to equally take care of it. Something that every parent has to deal with more than one kid, the sharing part of it. When reading books to them at night before they go to bed, it's always a home run to get a book that involves animals or dogs. And we ran out of books to read them. We have a wall full of books, and if it doesn't have something to do with animals, most likely it's not going to get picked. And then my wife challenged me and said, why don't you do your own? You think this is so easy. All right. Well, I guess I will. So.
Are you reading it to their friends?
Yeah, I dropped it off at daycare with them, and they read it at circle time every day. So I think it's become a regular thing for them. They're just going to get pounded in these poor kids' heads every day.
Well, will their parents buy one, do you think?
Well, I know that a couple of them have, but I don't know how many. I normally pick them up at 5:30. I think most people pick up their kids about 5. I know it's hard to find a parking spot, but at 5:30 is a lot easier.
Are you concerned about selling this book at all, or was it just for the joy of writing?
You know, I think it was mostly for the joy of them getting older and saying, "Wow, look what Dad did."
That'll do it. Well, you've accomplished that.
They might end up saying, "Geez, Dad, it's so embarrassing that you did that. Why'd you have to use my name?"
That'll be in about 10 years.
Yeah. Yeah, hopefully.
Enjoy it while it lasts. Maybe you can write a book on the teen years.
Yeah. Well, it'd have to take more than 5 seconds a page to read.
Yeah. You can talk about kicking the dog.
Yeah. I did notice that when reading them books, if it took more than 8 seconds max, I had a little timer. Yeah. If it took more than 8 seconds max, they were off doing something else. Yeah. What other book do we have that we can read that's not going to take so long, Dad? I want to turn the page.
And it just gets worse. It's just downhill from there because everything's instant. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, everything's instant. Yeah. Goes from a short attention span to shorter.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got to set off fireworks to get a kid's attention, I'm telling you, just to get the headphones out of their earbuds out of their ears. And then you set off fireworks, the dog runs under the bed. It's a mess. Thank you, Nathan. He wrote A Dog Named Sue on a plane, heard one and just one Page Publishing commercial, and that was it. Isn't that funny? He never heard that commercial again. How many people have said that? It's like meant to be. It just comes out of the, atmosphere when it's time. And you're not going to hear from me again anytime soon, not at midnight on a Saturday anyway, at least for another week. So in the meantime, come on now, you want to write that first book. I know you do. You want to write it bad. So jot something down between now and next week. And then me and Rob will catch you for the next edition of the Page Publishing Book Club right here on 710 WOR.